All right, ready to dive deep into some really mind-bending stuff.
How is it for a challenge?
Good, because today it's the fifth dimension.
Sounds exciting.
But before you picture us, like, stepping into some portal or something,
Yeah.
let's be clear.
Yeah, good idea.
We're not talking about a physical place, right?
Right. Not a physical place.
This is about consciousness.
Yeah.
About a whole different way of being.
Absolutely. It's a shift.
And get this, our sources suggest there might already be signs you're tapping into it.
Like we're already experiencing aspects of it.
Exactly.
Now that's a fascinating concept. What if we're not ascending to these higher dimensions, but instead tuning into frequencies that are already there?
Like a radio.
Exactly like a radio. You're not creating new stations, just adjusting your dial to pick up different frequencies.
I like that analogy, very clear. So should we get into these signs then?
Let's do it.
The first group our sources point to has to do with changes in both how you experience the world internally and externally.
Right. So both inside and outside of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
They talk about this profound sense of peace, of calmness
Okay.
that sort of starts to permeate your being. And things that used to trigger you, you know, those everyday dramas and things,
I know them well.
they don't really have the same power over you anymore.
Wouldn't that be strange, though?
Mm,
Like, would people think you're just detached, like you don't care?
I see what you mean.
How do you balance that inner peace with actually, engaging in the world?
It's not about being indifferent. It's more like seeing things from a broader viewpoint. Imagine yourself on a mountaintop looking out.
Okay.
You can still see all the individual trees, but you also see the whole forest, right?
Right.
The way everything is connected.
Yeah.
And I think that broader perspective can lead to a sense of peace, even amidst the chaos.
It's not about ignoring problems, but
Mhm.
about seeing them within a larger context.
Exactly.
Our sources also talk about time, how it feels different in the fifth dimension. It's not linear like we usually experience it. It's more fluid.
Right.
Honestly, that one's always kind of tripped me up. What does that actually mean?
Well, think of it this way. If you're not bound by that strict timeline, past, present, future,
Okay.
it all becomes more interconnected. You might start to experience those moments where past events feel like they're happening right now, or you get this flash of insight into what might happen in the future. The lines blur.
So time isn't a straight line anymore.
No, not so much.
It's more like a ball of yarn all tangled up.
That's an interesting way to put it, but yeah, it's less about chronological order. You experience time as this multidimensional flow.
All right. I think I'm starting to wrap my head around that. Now, how about synchronicities?
Ah, yes,
Those meaningful coincidences, makes you wonder, what are the chances?
definitely.
Our sources say those become way more common when you're in tune with fifth dimensional energy. But how do we tell if it's a true synchronicity or just random chance?
Good question. I think intuition plays a big role here. It's not just about the events themselves, but the feeling they evoke. Synchronicities carry this sense of significance, like you're being guided or nudged in a specific direction.
Like a message from the universe, but personal.
You got it. It wouldn't be very effective if the universe was too subtle, right?
Ew.
It's all about paying attention to those little cues, the subtle signs, whispers of guidance that are always there, but we tend to miss them in the rush of everyday life.
Inner peace, a different sense of time, the universe sending us coded messages through coincidences. What else changes as we start to align with this energy?
Well, our sources suggest relationships go through a major transformation.
How so?
In the fifth dimension, connections are all about genuine soul resonance. So it's less about superficial interactions and more about those deep, meaningful connections, the kind that support mutual growth.
Like those friends you just get each other with. No drama, you just understand.
Exactly.
That sounds ideal, but maybe a little intense.
It can be intense, yeah, but also incredibly liberating. Imagine a world where you communicate without needing words, understanding each other telepathically.
Wait, hold on. Telepathic, like literally reading each other's minds.
That takes things to a whole new level.
It does.
Not necessarily about hearing voices in your head or anything like that. It's more a heightened sensitivity to the other person's energy,
Yeah.
their thoughts and feelings. You might find yourself finishing each other's sentences or knowing what they'll say before they say it, or just feeling deeply understood without needing all those explanations.
Okay. Intriguing, but maybe a little scary. Not sure I'm ready for my friends to know every single thought. But let's move on. What about motivation? I read somewhere that it shifts too.
That's right. The sources suggest that in the fifth dimension, material desires become less important.
Really?
Yeah, the focus shifts towards spiritual growth and contributing to something larger than yourself.
So does that mean ditching personal goals completely?
Not necessarily. It's more about aligning them with a higher purpose. Imagine waking up every day feeling deeply connected to what your soul is meant to do, and knowing that your actions are actually contributing to the well-being of everyone, not just yourself.
So not becoming a saint or anything, but finding that sweet spot where your personal goals align with something bigger.
That's the idea.
I could see how that would be motivating for sure.
Yeah.
But what about challenges? Do those just magically vanish in the fifth dimension?
They don't disappear, no, but the way you perceive them changes.
However,
Instead of seeing them as setbacks or punishments even, you start to see them as opportunities to grow, as catalysts for learning and evolving.
so that crazy deadline at work that's making me want to pull my hair out.
Yeah.
In the fifth dimension, I'd be all, this is a chance to practice patience, time management.
Exactly. It's about shifting your perspective, recognizing the inherent lessons in each challenge.
So we're learning to see time differently, connect more deeply, and welcome challenges as opportunities. What else does this shift in consciousness affect?
It really impacts your intuition.
Oh, interesting.
It becomes a primary guide in the fifth dimension.
So we ditch the pros and cons lists, just go with gut feelings. What if my gut's wrong, though? Doesn't everyone have those moments where they follow their intuition and it totally backfires?
That's where discernment comes in. It's not about blindly following every hunch.
Got it.
Developing intuition is a process. It's about learning to differentiate between the voice of your ego, which is often driven by fear, and the voice of your soul, which comes from a place of wisdom, of clarity.
So kind of like building a muscle.
Yeah.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. And speaking of things getting stronger, our sources say manifestation speeds up in the fifth dimension.
The whole thoughts become things idea.
That's the one. It becomes much faster, more efficient.
Why is that?
Well, in the fifth dimension, your vibrational frequency is more in sync with the universe's creative power. So the gap between a thought and it actually manifesting narrows. But this accelerated manifestation also means a bigger responsibility. Your thoughts, your intentions, they hold more power, right? So you have to make sure they're aligned with what's truly good for you and for everyone else.
Whoa, okay. So instead of manifesting a parking spot, I could manifest world peace. Sounds incredible, but also kind of daunting.
It's about understanding that manifestation is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for not so good. The key is wielding it wisely, responsibly.
Okay, that is a lot to process.
It is.
We've talked about shifts in time, in relationships, how we view challenges, and even manifestation. What about our stuff, though? Material possessions? Do those just become irrelevant in the fifth dimension?
Not about rejecting them completely. It's more about recognizing that true fulfillment doesn't come from how much you own.
Okay, makes sense.
It comes from fully experiencing life, from connecting with others deeply, from growing spiritually.
So we've been unpacking how our relationship with things like time, challenges, even material possessions might shift as we align with this fifth dimensional energy. But what about how we relate to other people?
Definitely changes. A big one our sources highlight is universal love.
Okay, universal love. So not just loving your family, friends, but everyone. Like even that neighbor who always blasts music late at night. That seems challenging, to say the least.
It is a big concept. It's not just romantic love or family love. It's way broader, encompasses all beings.
How do you even begin to cultivate that kind of love?
I think it starts with recognizing the interconnectedness of everything. Like, imagine seeing a spark of the divine in every single person you meet, a reflection of your own essence in a way.
So we're all part of this universal tapestry.
That's the idea, woven together by the threads of existence.
So it's not about ignoring flaws or pretending everyone's perfect. It's
No.
about seeing beyond those superficial differences.
Exactly, recognizing our shared humanity. And as you cultivate this universal love, your empathy expands too. You start feeling the emotions, the experiences of others way more deeply.
Wait, you can actually feel what other people are feeling.
It can be intense.
That sounds intense. Doesn't that get overwhelming, though? Taking on other people's pain.
It's not about absorbing their emotions or becoming like a sponge for their negativity, more about holding space for them, offering compassion, understanding, but without losing your own center.
So like a mirror, reflecting their emotions but not getting tangled up in them.
That's a good way to put it. Our sources also talk about something called ego dissolution happening in the fifth dimension.
Ego dissolution. Does that mean our ego just disappears?
Not overnight, more of a gradual shift. In the third dimension, our ego tends to dominate.
Creates that separation between us and others.
Exactly, fuels comparison, competition, that need to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
But in the fifth dimension, as we let go of that separation, the ego's grip loosens.
We start seeing ourselves as part of something bigger, not just separate individuals.
Yes. It's like going from a solo performance to being part of a whole orchestra. You're still expressing your unique self, but contributing to a collective harmony.
Yeah. Beautiful analogy. But how does this play out in everyday life? What does being less ego-driven actually look like?
You might care less about what others think, needing their approval. Maybe you're less attached to being right all the time. There's a greater sense of ease, of acceptance, both of yourself and others.
So instead of feeling threatened by someone else's success, you genuinely celebrate it.
Right. Seeing it as a reflection of the abundance that's available to everyone.
That's amazing, but also maybe a little idealistic. Isn't there a risk of becoming passive if you're not driven by ego?
Not about passivity. It's about shifting your motivation. It comes from within, aligning with your true self, rather than needing external validation. You're still striving, but it's from a place of peace, of purpose, not just needing to prove yourself.
Okay, I see how all these pieces are starting to fit together. Ego dissolves, we're more open to connection, empathy, universal love. What about communication?
Interesting stuff there, too. Our sources mention telepathic communication becoming more common.
Seriously, we all just start reading each other's minds. I don't know if I'm ready for that level of transparency.
Haha, I hear you. It's not necessarily literal mind reading. It's more a sensitivity to the energy, the intention behind words.
Okay.
You might find yourself understanding unspoken thoughts, feelings, or even expressing your own more clearly, directly.
So it's like you'd instantly know if someone was lying.
It could be like having a built-in lie detector.
That's helpful in some cases, but imagine knowing what your date is thinking all night.
It's not about using this sensitivity to judge or manipulate. It's about fostering deeper understanding, compassion in how we communicate.
Okay. Using it ethically, responsibly. Wouldn't that make misunderstandings a thing of the past? Would every conversation just be totally transparent?
Communication's complex, even in the fifth dimension. There's still nuance, exploring different viewpoints. The joy of discovery doesn't go away.
So not about eliminating mystery, but about communicating with more awareness, intentionality.
Exactly. Our sources also say we become way more aware of the energetic nature of reality in the fifth dimension.
Okay, so are we all just walking around feeling each other's vibes?
It's about recognizing that everything is energy, vibrating at different frequencies. You begin to sense those subtle fields around people, places, even objects.
So you might intuitively know to avoid a certain place or person because it just feels off, like your internal alarm bells are going off.
It can feel like that.
How do you develop that kind of sensitivity? Is it something you can learn, or is it just magic?
Not magic, though it might feel like it at first. It's about paying attention to your subtle senses. Practices like meditation, being in nature, even just being more present in your body, these all help cultivate that awareness.
So like tuning into a channel that was always there, but you weren't aware of it before.
Exactly. And as you become more attuned to those subtle energies, you naturally start making choices that support your well-being.
Okay, fascinating stuff. But what about material possessions? Do those just fade into the background?
It's not about totally rejecting them. It's more about realizing that true abundance isn't about what you own, but about who you are, how you connect with the world around you.
So instead of wanting that new car or bigger house, it's more about focusing on experiences, relationships, personal growth.
That's the shift.
But doesn't that require a certain level of detachment from material things? How do you make that shift when you're still living in a world where money matters?
It's a balancing act. It's about recognizing that material things can serve a purpose, but they shouldn't define your worth or happiness.
So instead of seeking fulfillment through stuff, you find it through aligning with your values, your purpose.
Exactly.
But how do you make that shift practically? Especially when we're bombarded with messages telling us to buy more, achieve more.
It's a process of becoming aware of those messages and questioning them. It's about recognizing the difference between needs and wants, between genuine satisfaction and fleeting gratification.
So maybe instead of buying that new gadget, you invest in a weekend trip with friends or learn a new skill.
Exactly. It's about prioritizing experiences that align with your values. And as you make that shift, you might find your relationship with money changes too.
So money becomes less of a stressor and more of a tool for creating the life you want.
Right. True security doesn't come from possessions. It comes from aligning with your purpose and values. When you're living in alignment, you naturally attract the resources you need.
So money and possessions aren't the enemy. It's about shifting your perspective on their role in your life.
Exactly. And as you do, you might find your creativity flourishing.
Wait, like artistic creativity, like I'll suddenly be able to paint or write a novel.
Not necessarily. It's about tapping into your unique creative potential, whatever form that takes. Maybe it's writing or music, or maybe it's finding creative solutions at work or connecting with loved ones in new ways.
So it's about approaching life with a sense of playfulness and curiosity.
Yes. And as you embrace your creativity, you might find yourself drawn to new spiritual practices.
Like meditation or yoga.
It could be anything that helps you connect more deeply with yourself and with the source of all creation.
So it's not about escaping reality, it's about connecting with something bigger.
Exactly. It's about expanding your consciousness and deepening your understanding of the universe.
Okay, but what about intuition? Our sources mentioned it becomes even stronger in the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
Are we talking psychic powers here?
Not necessarily. It's about cultivating a deeper connection to your inner wisdom. You might experience it as a knowing, a gut feeling, a flash of insight.
So learning to trust those inner nudges.
Yes, but it takes practice to discern between the voice of your ego and the voice of your soul.
So how do you know if it's really intuition or just your imagination?
That's where those practices like meditation and journaling come in. They help you quiet the mind and tune in to your inner wisdom.
Okay, but what's the point of all this if you don't act on it? Our sources talk about living in alignment with your higher purpose, but how do you even know what that is?
Your higher purpose doesn't have to be something grand. It's about aligning your actions with your values and using your gifts to make a positive impact.
But what if you get it wrong?
It's not about right or wrong. It's about following your heart, trusting your intuition, and being open to the journey.
So trusting the process even when you don't have all the answers?
Exactly. And remember, the journey isn't always linear. There will be ups and downs, detours, and roadblocks, but each experience, whether positive or negative, offers valuable lessons.
So even the tough times have a purpose.
Yes, they help us grow and evolve. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. There are countless others who have walked this path before you.
So it's about finding support when you need it.
Yes, and drawing strength from the collective wisdom of those who have come before us.
But what if you feel lost and alone?
Remember, you are never truly alone. There is a universal energy of love and support that is always available to you.
So how do you tap into that?
By opening your heart, quieting your mind, and listening to the whispers of your soul.
Okay, we've really gone deep in this deep dive. We've covered how our perception of time, relationships, even our own motivation might change as we connect more with this fifth dimensional energy.
Definitely a lot to unpack.
But one thing that our sources kept bringing up is that fifth dimensional living. It's not just about us transforming as individuals. It's tied to how the whole collective evolves, too. What does that actually look like, though?
It means recognizing that what we do creates ripple effects. So it's not just about me, it's about everyone and everything around me.
Right, the web of life.
Exactly. In the fifth dimension, you become so much more aware of that interconnectedness.
Not just an idea, but something you actually feel and experience.
Yes, exactly.
So it's not just about what's good for me,
Yeah.
but also what's the impact on everyone else, the environment, even future generations.
It is a big shift.
Huge.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that make making decisions super complicated? How do you weigh all those factors?
It's not about getting stuck in overthinking it all. It's more a subtle shift in how aware you are. Imagine feeling responsible for the well-being of everyone, not just yourself.
No.
That naturally guides your choices toward actions that benefit the greater good.
Okay, so not about becoming a superhero and saving the world alone. Just making daily choices with that bigger picture in mind.
Right.
What about conflict, though? Does that just disappear in this fifth dimension?
Yeah.
Because even with good intentions, people are going to disagree sometimes.
The conflict's a natural part of life, even in higher dimensions, yeah. But how we deal with it, that changes.
How so?
Instead of seeing it as a battle, win or lose,
Right.
it becomes a chance to understand, to grow.
So instead of digging in my heels, trying to prove I'm right,
Yeah.
I'd be more open to actually hearing the other person's side, even if I don't agree with them.
Exactly.
But doesn't that make you vulnerable to being taken advantage of? How do you set boundaries while still being open?
It's not about being a pushover. It's recognizing that even within conflict, there's something to learn. Imagine approaching it with curiosity instead of getting defensive. wanting to truly understand their view, not change their mind, but to broaden your own understanding.
Okay, that changes things
Mm.
completely, from
Yeah,
power struggle to working together, learning together.
right.
Our sources also talk about authenticity being crucial in fifth dimensional living. And that one makes me a little nervous, honestly.
Why is that?
Isn't there a chance you'll hurt people's feelings if you're just brutally honest all the time?
True.
How do you balance being authentic with being kind and compassionate?
Authenticity isn't about being harsh or insensitive. It's about expressing your truth in a way that aligns with your values, with respect for the other person's feelings.
Okay.
Showing up as your true self, no masks, no pretending, but doing it with awareness, compassion.
Being real while being mindful of how your words affect others.
That's it.
Sounds like a constant balancing act.
It is. There's no easy answer. But as you get to know yourself better and become more tuned into the energy of a situation, you get better at knowing when to speak up and when to just listen.
Finding that sweet spot, being true to yourself while considering others. One thing that really stands out to me is that getting to the fifth dimension, it's not a straight line. It's a journey. It's ongoing. Our sources really emphasize that. It's constant growth, learning, evolving. Kind of takes the pressure off, doesn't it? You're not trying to reach some perfect endpoint. It's about embracing the process of becoming.
Exactly. Let go of needing all the answers. Embrace the mystery of how things unfold. Be open to new experiences. Challenge what you think you know. Keep expanding your understanding of yourself and the world.
So not about reaching some fixed state of enlightenment, but a lifelong process.
That's it.
Doesn't that sound exhausting, though? Like, can you ever just relax and enjoy the ride?
Of course. In fact, the more you embrace this journey, the more joy and ease you'll likely find along the way. It's not about forcing things. It's about surrendering to how life flows, trusting that you're being guided.
Balance between effort and letting go. Actively growing, but trusting the universe has your back.
I like that.
But what about those times when it feels like you're going backwards? Taking 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. How do you stay motivated when you don't see results right away?
It's about focusing on the journey itself, not just the destination. Celebrate the little wins, those moments of insight, those glimpses of your true potential.
Ah, okay.
Even when it feels like a setback, you're still learning, growing, even if you don't see it right away.
Finding the joy even when it's messy, unpredictable.
Exactly.
But those times when it feels like everything is falling apart, big challenges, big changes.
Those are tough.
How do you get through that without giving up hope?
Remember, you're never truly alone. There's a universal energy of love, of support that's always there for you. It's about learning to connect to that, trusting that you're being guided, even when you can't see the way.
So cultivating a deep trust. Faith that even in the dark times, there's something leading you toward what's best.
Yes, exactly that. And as you cultivate that trust, your whole perception shifts. You see challenges as opportunities to grow, not obstacles. Setbacks become invitations to adjust your path, not failures. And life itself becomes this sacred unfolding, a mix of joy and sorrow, light and shadow.
Embrace it all, the whole experience. Knowing that even the tough parts help us evolve.
That's the idea. And when we embrace that view, we really start to live the essence of the fifth dimension. We become creators of our own reality, more compassionate in how we treat others, and more aligned with what our soul is here to do.
That's a beautiful vision. And I think it's something we can all strive for.
I think so too.
So to everyone listening, as you go on your own journeys, remember this. You're not trying to become someone new. You're discovering the potential that's already inside you.
And by embracing that potential, you're helping humanity evolve, creating a world that reflects the fifth dimension's beauty, harmony, and interconnectedness.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible deep dive. We hope it's given you some things to think about, maybe even inspired you to explore your own connection to the fifth dimension. Until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep shining your light.